Welcome to the BASU Lifestyle Show. This is the show about learning what it takes to build a superior you, mentally, physically, and financially. Today, we have Jimmy Devlin. Most of you guys know him as a Patriots star fullback, but we're going to go a lot deeper into his background, grit, and a whole lot of other things. I'm going to have Tony give him a better introduction.
What's up, guys? I've had the unique pleasure of knowing Jimmy for 4.5 years now, since we took over the Brigantine Gym. Originally, he was a summer member, obviously, because he wasn't playing, so I'd see him here and there, and people would be like, oh, that's Jimmy Devlin, he played for the Patriots, which was cool, but I wasn't going to be like, yo, can I get your number, let's hang out. And then over time, it kind of just evolved into this relationship where we became friends and a mutual respect for each other. And then, you know, during COVID is when our friendship, like, actually right before COVID, we were driving around looking for locations for possible gyms and stuff, and then that's kind of when it blossomed. Then during COVID, we had the unique opportunity of a gym that we weren't allowed to use. Yeah. So I'm like, well, I own the fucking gym, so I'm going to go to the gym. And I'm like, I got to keep the lights off, and I have to keep paper on the front door. But I know Jimmy will come rock with me because we had a routine. So like every Monday through Friday, sometimes Saturday, from like that 6 a.m. start time, we were in there for 2 or 3 hours, kind of just talking about life, love, work, everything that we could possibly kind of think of. And yeah, man, it just turned into an awesome friendship.
Yeah, it really did, man.
I know you as the guy who stepped off the field. You know, I've had a lot of conversations with you prior to that about what it was like playing, but I know you as, like, you know, the amazing husband, the amazing father. You're now getting your feet wet in the entrepreneurial kind of strata with Soulberry, which we're going to talk about. So I think for a lot of people who just know you as, the football guy, I think now's a great time we can introduce you as, you know, Jimmy Devlin. Yeah. You know, the person. So I guess my first question is, how did this all start for you? Like, was it always football? Because I know. Yeah,
I mean that's a depth question right there. You know, how did it all start? Yeah, how did it all start? I grew up. My dad was a college football player. I grew up, you know, outside of Philly, Pottstown, Pennsylvania, and I just gravitated towards the game of football at an early age. I played everything, but football was really my thing. I love the physicality, I love the violence, and my dad obviously playing it. And then we also grew up in a great time of Eagles football, so it was really fun to follow that team and to have those stars to look up to, like the Brian Dawkins, even McNabb.
Well, especially because you grew up in their backyard.
Yeah. So it was just a great time to be a fan of the game and of the team, and so I started with football very young. I started at 7 years old. And then through high school and all that, I was a bigger kid, so I got to play early and learn and do some things.
So you were never picked last.
Yeah.
By senior year, what was your height, weight, all that?
Well, I was 235 as a sophomore, probably 6'1", 235.
Okay, that's pretty solid.
Yeah, and then I started as a sophomore. We only ninth grade was in junior high where I went. I went to Boyertown High School. Shout out to the Bears. I know they're doing pretty well this year. So, so I started right when I got there, and then cut my teeth, and then I just my dad thought I was going to be a monster, and I stopped growing at 6'2.5". So right at I'd say junior year, I probably maxed out. I was 6'2", 250. Okay. And then
larger than the average human being still.
Yeah, I was 200 pounds, and I thought I was big at 6'1".
Yeah, so it was, and it was fun. I mean, high school football is the best. I say it all the time when I go back and I talk to high school kids. I'm cherish these moments because it's just such a beautiful time of life, you know.
Well, it's pure for them, right?
It is.
Besides football, who were you in high school? What kind of guy were you?
I would say I played lacrosse, and all my buddies were on the lacrosse team. Okay. We were kind of just a bunch of jokesters. Okay. We didn't take it very seriously. When I started playing lacrosse, it was our second year as a varsity team. So we were still trying to figure it out. Nobody really knew how to play all that well. It was when lacrosse really started taking off in Pennsylvania. Obviously Maryland, it was huge, and Virginia, that area, but it was just starting to come up to Pennsylvania. And so I was I'd say definitely the football gave me that jock persona. Yep. But then I was a jokester. But then I also took myself seriously academically. Always tried to challenge myself, and Took all the AP courses and tried to do my best. I mean, sometimes it was just just buckling down and doing what I needed to do to get the grades.
Before we go back to talking about football, you went to college, or you have a degree?
Yes.
And where'd you go and what'd you do?
I went to Brown University and I got a mechanical engineering degree. None of which I'm using now, but
I still highly educated, motivated.
Yeah. So, early on, I was getting recruited by some big time football schools, and I was like, oh man, I'm gonna go big time and play. My first visit I ever took was to Michigan, and I thought like that was my fate. And then, like I said, I kind of stopped growing my junior year. I was like a slow white kid, and like you could find a bunch of me. So
is that when their interest started to kind of dissipate?
Yeah.
Was you like a defensive end or something too?
Yeah, I played middle linebacker and a little tight end in high school, and I wanted to play linebacker like a son of a bitch. I love the position. I still do. If I could choose it, I'd go back and play, middle linebacker. But it just, my body type and my athletic ability didn't allow me to do it. So then once all the Division I offers never came, I just decided look, I'm going to try to use football as a catalyst to get the best education I can.
Okay.
And so I chose just from that point forward, I'm going to look strictly Ivy League. So then it came down to which Ivy Leagues were most interested. It came down to Brown and Princeton. I took a visit to both, and I just felt more at home at Brown. It was a little bit more like the team. I connected with them more. And
where's Brown?
In Providence, Rhode Island.
Providence, Rhode Island.
Yeah, it's kind of like a smaller, lesser-known Ivy, but it kind of gives us that little sense of grit and us against the world, especially on the football team. And so I really enjoyed my time there. I had a blast. Parties were good, but also not like my exact calling card. So it was a really good time in college, man.
Hang on, I just wanted to, while we're on that subject. So were you the one who was partying a lot? Did you balance it all? Were you partying a lot? Were you studying a lot? Or were you practicing lifting weights? What guy kind of were you? Were you doing all three and balancing them?
I'd say high school I was balancing them as best I could. And then because I guess football kind of came easier to me.
It was part of who you were.
Out.
You were just being yourself when you were on the field.
Yeah. And then the party and stuff. It was just being a high school knucklehead and just
out. Were you a gym guy? Were you not a gym guy?
I was a gym guy. Okay. Yeah. I started training very seriously when I was a sophomore. With a guy up in PA. No longer has the gym, but one of the best trainers I've ever had. The dude was he was brilliant.
Might have to change that intro a little bit.
He was a good one, man, and he changed me from a boy to a man. Okay. And so I was in there religiously. I was really it was kind of my second home. I mean, as soon as school was done, I was at the gym. I would work for him. I would train. I would pick his brain, do everything. I was damn near sleeping there, and it was a really good time. And then once I got to college, I kind of got checked a little bit because I got there. I was no longer the big high school jock. I had to earn my stripes. So then I took training more serious, took football more serious. I obviously had to take school more serious. So then I started to just gravitate away from partying. And so by the time I was a junior, I was
academics
drinking.
and football.
Yeah. I didn't have time to do the drinking. I didn't have time to go down to the clubs in Providence and stuff.
But I've never known. That's who you are still. Yeah. You don't even drink now.
No. I did completely gave it up. And I just don't need it in my life. And I really enjoy all the things I got going on, and it takes up all my brain's bandwidth to keep it all balanced at this point. So I just don't need the partying, and that was really never my thing. So
it's also hard to party with 4 kids in the house, bro.
Yeah, it is, man.
Unless it's like a SpongeBob party or something, or Spider-Man party in your house.
Spider-Man, I know.
So all right, cool. So we get to college. We're playing football. We're working on our education. You graduate.
Mm-hmm.
Were you right into the NFL?
No. So, that I wanted it to be.
Right.
So my senior year, the spring of my senior year was the draft and all that stuff. I went undrafted. I had an invite as a rookie minicamp tryout guy with the Cleveland Browns. And really, I should go back. I was like a very long shot to have any kind of like professional football career. It was my dream, but like everyone else outside of me, like really didn't think I had.
Why was it a long shot?
Chance. I was just too much of a tweener. Like I said before, like coming out of high school, wasn't really all that athletic. Wasn't fast. Was strong. Could hit, but I was also like too slow to play linebacker, too small to play D end, too small to play tight end, too short of arms to block. So I was kind of getting like I was in the middle of a bunch of positions. I couldn't really find my niche. I was like a pretty good Ivy League football player, but again, like the Ivy League doesn't get the kind of accolades and the attention that big time schools do. So I was just in it like I need to see this through. This is my dream. I gotta give it a shot. A bunch of my teammates, one got drafted, 2 other guys got signed as rookie free agents, and then I was a tryout guy. Went to Cleveland, didn't even make it to the 3rd day of the tryout. They released me on Saturday, and I was just a fish out of water. They tried me at 3-4 outside linebacker. So it was essentially like Mario Williams and me. Like, it just wasn't cut out for it. So then I went back to the drawing board. I went home, started training. I was training in Philly with my guy. We were doing boxing workouts at Joe Hands in the morning. We do like conditioning and speed agility work at Roxborough High School, and then we train at Sweat Fitness in Manayunk. Yeah. And I was
it's a full-time job.
Yeah, it was 3 days, and I loved it. But
who was paying for all that?
Myself.
Just from bootstrapping it?
Yeah, my agent wasn't paying for me. Like he took a chance, just like signing me as his guy.
So what made you keep going, even though everybody kind of was against you and nobody believed in you? What made you keep going?
Just a sheer belief in myself that I had what it took. Like I just needed the opportunity, and you never know when the opportunity is going to come. Sometimes it doesn't come, but I just was like
constant state of readiness for that opportunity.
I gotta just keep working, and like I'll give it. As long as I feel like I'm not doing a disservice to myself, I'm going to try to chase this dream. And
so you're training, you're waiting for a phone call.
And then I finally not only get a phone call, I get a Facebook message from a guy I've never seen before. His name was Ian Harris. He was I guess you'd call him a GM kind of the Oklahoma City Yard Dogs from the AFL 2 league that had just got pulled up to the AFL league because a bunch of teams went under.
Right.
So I go out there on my own dime, fly out, have a tryout. They weren't expecting me to make the team. They just wanted like bodies. They needed bodies to practice against. So they like somehow got me out there, and then I ended up like kind of turning their heads, and they ended up signing me.
At what position?
As a D end.
A D end.
And I was wearing number 55, and I was living in an apartment. They actually paid for my apartment, but it was they just had a hailstorm, so all my windows were broken and boarded up.
Moving on up.
And and I didn't play for the first. I was there 5 weeks. I didn't play for the first 4 weeks, so I was making $200 a week those 4 weeks, and then I played in the final game of the season because they were out of the playoffs. But at that point, and I had one quarterback hurry, and I got $400 for that week. Then I go back home. Again, no more prospects. Like I had kind of lived out a little bit of a dream, making money, playing football. And then I'm down in Sea Isle with some buddies, and I get a call from my agent. He's like, "Hey, you got to try out with the Florida Tuskers in Orlando."
That's another AFL.
On Monday. Yeah, I was gonna say, what are they?
It was a UFL team.
They were UFL?
United Football League, which was a 4-year stint, and I played in the second year of it. And it was really like a successful league when I was there. We had a lot of ex-NFL guys. There was a pretty good amount of money. I mean, guys were making like practice squad type money, but we were also playing and getting film.
Right.
So it was like a perfect situation.
You're building your reels for sending them out to other people.
And then the thing that my agent ended on is like, hey, this fullback or this tryout is you're going to be a fullback here. So just don't tell them you never.
Did you ever play fullback?
Not really. Like in high school, they throw me back there a little bit. In college, they kind of did the same thing, just to
but
like
you understand the position and what's required of it.
Yeah, I mean, I played football long enough. Like I knew offenses from playing tight end in high school a little bit. And so I just kind of like went down there, and nobody asked me if I had ever played.
They just assumed.
Yeah.
So you had to be an imposter, but without telling anybody.
Yeah. So I did the tryout. They signed me. 2 weeks into the year, the starting fullback gets vertigo on going to an away game, and I start, and then I started the rest of the year. We went to the championship game and lost in Omaha, Nebraska. We played, and that was a Friday, I believe. Saturday, I wake up in my hotel in Orlando, and I have 2 calls, one from the 49ers and one from the Bengals. 49ers wanted me to come out and try out. The week following, the Bengals wanted me the next day. So I said, all right, I'll go to Cincinnati.
Yeah, why wait on something?
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly. So I went to Cincinnati, did a tryout, made the practice squad, was there the rest of the 2010 season, so from like week 10 on. And then the next year went to training camp with them, made the practice squad again for that entire year. And then
so a little bit of money's coming in now.
Yeah,
you're a little more.
I'm getting my foot in the door. I have
your name is circling a little bit.
Yeah, I have an ability to learn from a great fullback who played for the Bengals at the time, Chris Presley, who's still one of my closest friends. He grew up in Camden. Great story. Dude was a 4.0 all 4 years at Wisconsin. Like an absolute beast. Like built like a fullback should.
Yeah.
To be honest, and I was always like a taller fullback. But he like kind of taught me how to play the position and to do it with like the hard-headedness and like kind of like old school blue collar approach.
Did anybody ever catch on that fullback wasn't a position that you were like in before, or were you able to make it?
Yeah, people started like asking me like, oh, you had never played, and I was like, no, I played DN in college and linebacker in high school, and but it just like it immediately kind of like all clicked. Like it was just it fit my ability in a football sense. Like I was always like a hitter. I was always like a face first kind of guy.
You were comfortable in what was demanded of the position.
Yeah,
like you knew what to fucking do and you just did it.
Yeah. And offense is really it's really nice that way, because once you learn it, if you have like the ability to understand the offense, once you learn it, like it, everything works like in unison. And that was one thing that it took a little bit of adjusting to. Like defense, it's like you essentially just line up, and then once the ball snapped, just get to the quarterback. Like you're just a dog after. And so on offense, you got to be a little bit more calculated. You have like an exact assignment, but like once you recognize how it all works together, it's pretty
chess.
simple.
You're moving around pieces to get to the finish.
Yeah. So, and then things just clicked, man. And then
so now you're a Bengal.
Now I was a Bengal, and then in 2012 went to training camp with them. Thought that I had a shot, but Chris was still there, and he was the man there. So after the season, kind of thinking I might make practice squad again, and they just flat out cut me, told me they weren't going to bring me back. And then
how does that feel when they say, hey, is it like a letter they give you, or they just go to the office and they tell you? Yeah,
they call you. Like day of final cuts in training camp is like this most stressful day in the world. You wake up and you essentially just wait for your phone to ring. And it'll be like a Cincinnati, Ohio number. And they're like, all right, coach wants to see you. You go in there, you know what's coming. Everyone's just somber.
So if you weren't being cut, coach wouldn't want to see you. They would just say, hey, you got the spot.
Yeah, and most of the time, like, you're either, and sometimes you're like in the facility and like you're like at your locker and you just don't want to feel anybody like
tap
behind
on their shoulders.
Yeah. And we always called the dude, like sometimes they'd wait like right before you got to the locker room, and we called him the Grim Reaper.
Fuck yeah.
Because like he'd walk by and he'd be like, hey, James, coach wants to see you.
So you're getting dressed with your back to the locker so nobody can sneak up on you.
Yeah. So so I was got cut from Cincinnati, talked to Marvin Lewis. Started welling up because it was like I didn't know where my football future was headed. Like I had just gotten to like the doorstep of like getting my foot in the door, and I didn't know where I was going from there.
Were you mentally prepared for there not to be another call? Did you have a backup plan at that time?
I didn't.
Yeah, but you knew that you had enough intelligence and education.
Yeah, like I'd figure it out. And actually, Jenny, who was just my girlfriend at the time, she was out there with me. She came out to the last preseason game, and so we were in the hotel room together that night because the Bengals obviously, like, they cut me, so they're no longer paying for my hotel room. Well, it just so happens Jenny had a hotel room across the street that I put her in, so I went over there for the night, and then the next day had 2 calls again for practice squad spots with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who Greg Schiano was coaching, Rutgers guy, and he actually called me personally, which I thought was cool. Like pretty impressive. And he explained the whole situation. They had a fullback they weren't super happy with. They thought that I had a shot, and so he was like really trying to sell me. And then the Patriots called me, and I remember talking to my agent, like, I'm like, oh yeah, but Schiano's telling me this and that. And he's like, dude, if you have a chance to play for the Patriots, you go play for the Patriots, because
it's a dynasty team.
It's a dynasty team. Bill, like, the fact that he saw something in you, someone else will give you a chance. Just like, you know, if they don't, if it doesn't work out there, like, they'll be like, oh, well, maybe Belichick saw something.
Got called up to New England. Let's give him a call.
So I went there. Spent that year 2012 on a practice squad for all of the season except for 4 weeks in December. They pulled me up. I played in 1 game on special teams. I didn't even play on offense. And then 2013 is kind of when I like made my name. I made the team after training camp, and then they did like the bottom of the roster juggling, and so I made the team on Saturday. Monday they cut me. I drive home. Or drive back down to Brigantine, load up my Camaro. I had a Camaro at the time. Load up my Camaro, drive back down to Brigantine. That Thursday, they call me and they're like, hey, we're going to bring you back. You're going to play this weekend. So drive back up Thursday night, go to practice Friday, play and start. Play and start on Sunday.
And this is your first time on the field in the NFL?
First time on the field.
So how many years was it from graduating college to nobody believing you to getting actually on the field?
3.
So it took you 3 years of just believing in yourself. And then there's one other thing I kind of want to get into. The night you get cut, you go home to your girlfriend at the time.
Yeah.
What is that conversation like when it's like you don't have anything else, you feel like you're at your last straw? Did she believe in you? Did she tell you to stop? Did you want to keep going?
No, she believed in me. Like, once we got together, and that's a whole story in itself. Once we got together, like, she became like my rock. She became like everything that I needed in my life, all kind of like set into place once I was with her. So I remember like talking, having a heart-to-heart, like crying to her, and she was just like my girlfriend of like maybe 6-7 months at the time. She believed in me. She like kind of helped me with the decision, with like the whole like Tampa or New England, and like, you know, she believed that New England was the right choice, and I like respected her choice. And then honestly, that year 2013, Tampa had that bad MRSA outbreak, so I'm like glad I didn't go there. They had like 9 guys, they had 9 guys like not suit up because they all had MRSA at the same time, which is brutal. But and then I ended up going up to New England, and again I had to like cut my teeth to learn how New England did things. And once I learned it, I was like, you know what, this is the way football is supposed to be played, with discipline. You know, you hear it all the time, like New England is not fun to play at, and I'm like, well,
yeah, I mean, it looks very stoic when you're watching, like from the TV or from the sidelines.
Yeah,
but like it's order. It's just run. Order. It's run very like regimented.
There's like everything has a purpose, and you just have to like kind of buy into that. And I'll tell you what, like, yeah, maybe, you know, practicing the way we practice, like physical in pads as much as we could, which is, you know, it wasn't like fun, like we weren't like pumped every day. But I'll tell you what, when you finish the season at 14-2, and you're number 1 in the AFC, like that's fun. You know, winning the Super Bowl, that's about as fun as you can have.
Yeah, it's the fruit of the tree, right?
Yeah.
So like you put in the work, which isn't always fun, but then you guys get to celebrate it.
Yeah.
You know, which is great.
Yeah, so winning is fun, man.
So that first game that you played, you walked on the field.
Yeah.
You're suited and booted, ready to go.
Well, the first game I played was actually 2012. I played against the I was on the practice squad. They pulled me up, and I played in one game, but I was only a practice squad, or only a special team player. And we played Sunday night against the 49ers in Foxborough, and it was a tough game. Colin Kaepernick was the quarterback. They ended up beating us, but late in the fourth
this was
quarter.
while you were on the Bengals.
No, this is when I was on the Pats. Yeah, they brought me up for and suited me up for one game, and we were playing the Niners, and it was a punt return late in the game. Wes Welker was returning. He ended up catching it, making a little bit of hay, and maybe had a 15-yard return, and I held Navarro Bowman on the play, and it was late in the fourth quarter. We were making a comeback. And I remember our special teams coach at the time, legendary, Scott O'Brien, he used to not even, he wouldn't say anything. He would just look at you and just stare a hole right through you. And I remember coming off the sideline, I had just negated 25 yards in a return with the penalty.
It's that set pass disappointment.
Oh my God, it was brutal. And I was I'm probably done.
I was going to say, do you always feel like you're getting fired when you're at that level of the practice squad? Every one mistake is it.
Yeah, and that's how I felt. And then I felt like that through my whole fucking career. But but then that first game, once I had solidified myself, I was day one, I'm playing, I'm starting. The opening kickoff, the Bills kicked to us, and we ran this little scheme. It's back when we had a wedge, and so we were able to have two wedge guys and then two kind of wing wedge guys. I was the right wing wedge guy.
So you're on the outside of the corner.
Yeah, and we're returning to the left side of the field. I remember this so vividly, and my job was we're all selling it, and then I wrapped behind the wedge, kind of got lost in the mud, and then I'd kick out the L2, we call him, right? So this dude's running down. He's one of the fastest guys on the team. The 2s and 1s are usually the faster guys. Comes down, doesn't see me, and I just light him up. The first play of my legitimate NFL career, leveled him, and then jumped on him I was so pumped.
It sounds like a Mighty Ducks thing.
Yeah, it was.
And then the Bash brother comes out and just levels him.
And then I trapped him on the. Oh man, it was nice. But then we played really well. We won that game. We ran the ball pretty well. And then it was from then on, I had kind of solidified myself, and it was no turning back. There was a couple of years where we weren't super successful early in the year, running the ball, I'd say 14, 15. But by the end of the year, we always kind of found our groove. Yeah. And then we would roll through the playoffs kind of running the ball a lot. And that was kind of our calling card to a degree. I mean, obviously we have Tom, and he's magic with ball in his hands. But I mean,
well, you guys are all at the apex of athleticism at that point in time. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can't take away anybody's. Tom is Tom. I mean, he's a freak, right?
Yeah.
But you guys have all kind of. What's the percentage of people who walk onto a field to try out who make a team or make a practice squad? Less than 1%?
Yeah, I think
it's like 0.39%.
I think they do it I've heard it from high school football players that ever make it to the NFL is 0.1%.
A fraction of a percent.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. So for you guys to beat all those people to get there, I mean, anything you guys do at that point is pretty impressive, whether you win or lose, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was fun, man.
I have two more football questions for you before we have, I want to go into your life off the field, because that's where we're kind of...
Yeah.
That's where I came into
sorry,
I love it. Hey,
I get long-winded when we're talking
But you can see your face lights up.
Yeah.
A couple weeks ago, Wolf Fitness, we were doing the Absecon Blue Devils football team's little conditioning stuff, and we went out there, you were ear to ear, and we were talking to these kids was awesome. I love that they had a bunch of silly questions, but I just love how you can see that football is it's so entwined in your life, and you're looking forward to it. You're going to let your kids play, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Contact?
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So you play. When was your last season on the field?
2019.
Okay, and between 12 and 19, you guys went to the Super Bowl a couple times.
4 times, yeah.
And you won?
We won 3 of them. Yep. Lost one to the Birds, but
what's it? Well, go Eagles. What's it like? So you're at the top. You're at the apex of athleticism. You're playing against the best in the world, and you guys are at the show and you win. Mm-hmm. What's that feeling like? It doesn't get better than that, right?
It really does.
On a sports side.
Yeah. I mean, you can cut this up a million ways. The first Super Bowl we played in down in Phoenix, we played the Seahawks, and it was when like Malcolm Butler had that last second interception on the goal line. Just a wild game, and that game was like, I remember warming up and just like I could not like get the goosebumps off.
Yeah.
And I'm like grinning ear to ear, so fucking excited. And I remember like all the people that had been there, Bill and Tom and all these guys, like, they're like, don't go out there and like blow your load. Like you gotta save yourself for this game, because everything takes longer in the Super Bowl.
Right.
There's so much more pageantry. We're singing like 6 songs now before the game starts. Like it's not just like the national anthem and then we're like good to go. Like you gotta like really strategize how to approach that game. And it's just like, you glance up in the stand and you see like Mark Wahlberg and The Rock, and it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I'm playing in front of these guys. I like,
I'll be waving to him. Hey.
Yeah, 5 years ago, I'm playing in front of 1,500 people in Brown Stadium, and now I'm playing in front of like the world, and it's a wild realization. But then it's all in your mind, and then the ball kicks off. And you realize, like, oh, this is football again.
Back to reality.
Like, this is exactly, like you say, we were at the Absecon Blue Devils. Like, these kids are playing the exact same game as I was playing in the Super Bowl. It's just like,
more cameras, more lights.
More cameras, more lights, more people watching.
Yeah.
But, like, there's also, like, now money involved. So things get, like, complicated on this end. But, like, the purity, which we talked about when I was out there with the Blue Devils, the purity of, like, kids playing football is such a beautiful thing. And then when you really boil it all down, I was so fucking lucky to play a child's game for 30 years of my life, and it was just like I'm super lucky, and it was so playing in the Super Bowl was a culmination of like a lot of hard work, like I mean emotional, like after we won especially, like shit, this is like the pinnacle. And then it so happens that I'm lucky enough to win 2 more after that one. But then the second and the third was weird because, and honestly the second, third, and fourth was weird because like I was always like measuring things. It didn't have that like
it wasn't your first rodeo
Super Bowl.
Anymore,
and I'm like spoiled. I'm like, this hotel's not as good as last time,
You leveled up. I mean, that's what happens.
You're still amazing to be there, but you're like,
I had
nothing
to, like,
compares to your first time.
Yeah, I know.
But what was that feeling like going from nobody believes in you to now you're winning the Super Bowl, you played in the Super Bowl.
You're a household name in New England.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like you go up there,
what's that feeling like? How do you like explain that to somebody to go after their dream, so to speak?
I mean, how do I explain it? It's just, I don't even know. I'm not.
What does it feel like when you accomplish your dream? Like, is there any?
It's super
high,
gratifying. Like, it's super gratifying. I remember like that.
Nothing was given to you, which is the nice part. Like you've earned from high school, playing on that team, to being able to retire from the Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't a time where somebody was like, "Oh, here's a handout." No, you had to fucking cut your teeth.
Yeah,
every single time.
Yeah,
every single year.
Well, I think there's really something to be said about the way in which you obtain like your dreams, and the fact that I had to like claw and dig and like really like check my ego a million times, getting cut and having people tell me no and having to scrounge just to get an agent in college, like that allowed me to appreciate like the culmination of it all. That first Super Bowl, like it was wild. Like I can't even honestly put into words the way I felt when we're sitting there, confetti's falling, and I'm like hugging Tom Brady and all these guys that we had just won a Super Bowl, and I kiss the Lombardi Trophy as I think Willie McGinnis carried it down, and I like kiss it, and then he takes it up and like the iconic like shots of Tom and all that shit. Like it's wild. Like I'm getting goosebumps now just thinking about it.
Do you say to your girlfriend becomes your wife, right?
She was my wife at that point when we won.
Do you say I told you so? Do you say thanks for believing in me?
I mean I do, and she really did. She believed in me the whole way, man. And I never made an NFL roster until we got married, and I think it was like, my life just like I said, it all settled into place, and she like took care of everything and allowed me to focus like on football and focus on like what I needed to do. But yeah, like I think a lot of people get motivation from like doubters, and I definitely have my doubters. I still remember to this day the specifics of like when people told me I wasn't going to make it in the league.
You saved them as fuel, right?
Yeah. Like I remember AP English in senior year. I won't say her name, but
say it.
No, I'm not gonna say it.
Call her out.
I'm not gonna say it. But I remember her like we had to do this thing like, what are your goals? And mine was playing the NFL, and she was like, you're not gonna play in the NFL. And I was like, all right. And then in college, a bunch of guys were going out. This is like back to something you asked me before. A bunch of guys are going out, and they're like, we had this thing in college. Wednesday nights at Fish Company in Providence was no longer even a place. Now it's called Whiskey Republic or something. But Wednesday nights at Fish Company were like the football nights. Like everybody went. And I wasn't going. And I remember this guy, he's like, you're not going? And I'm like, no, I'm not going. He's like, dude, you're not going to make it to the league. Just like let yourself
screw it. Just come party. Give up on your dreams.
Do you think that's like because they feel like a certain way when you're doing the right thing and they're doing the wrong way, like they're trying to pull you with them?
Yeah,
like,
and justify their actions a little bit. And like,
I also think misery likes company. Like if someone's not happy with a certain aspect of their life, he could be having a bad hair day, but if they see an opportunity to knock you down a rung for no other reason than it makes them feel better momentarily, they take it.
Yeah,
which is shitty.
Yeah,
I
mean it's just human nature.
Yeah,
man.
It is.
Like, and I know like there's like that guy was my friend.
Yeah,
and,
it wasn't
like,
somebody going out of their way to.
And even the girl in the English class, she was my friend, and like I'm never gonna go up to her and be like, hey.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah, proved you wrong. But it's like you remember those things and you use it as fuel. And so like being.
No, but that's something you can say thank you for, right?
Being at being at the top and being like a world champion, football player. Like it's like, God damn, I'm so glad that I followed my heart. Because it was like I graduated from Brown and I'm at home living with my parents, kind of lining up some engineering like interviews and shit, but like my heart's not there. My heart's like still training every day, 2 days, 3 days, put myself through the ringer, and it was all like to get to this goal, and no one really saw that coming to fruition except for me. And so to have like the imagination that I could get there, and then having like the work and the drive and the belief in myself in my heart, that's really what was like everything, because everyone would have put money against me from doing it, and even myself, like my brain, I was like, God, I gotta fucking take myself seriously. Like I gotta start maybe getting a job, just go like be an engineer. You went to school for it, but then I was like, you know what?
Your soul wasn't in it. Your heart wasn't in that.
You always like your gut feeling is like damn near always right. And my gut feeling was like, I can play. I just need to like get in front of the right people and like get someone to believe in me, and then I'll take it from there. And that's how it all worked out in New England.
I feel like your gut, whether it's right or wrong, but you follow it. Well, at least I said, well, I felt like it was going to work out. If it didn't, that's on me.
Yeah, you have no
I would have
regrets
been more pissed off for not trying.
Yeah,
because fuck, my gut told me I should have done it. I didn't listen to my gut.
Yeah,
I love that.
Because I swear I wouldn't have. I probably, if I didn't play in the NFL at this point, I mean, I don't know. Shit could have went all the sorts of different ways, but I mean, who knows if I'd even have like the stones to like watch the game now. If I didn't take the chance, and I
would have had to live with that regret of it.
Yeah, because I'd be watching it every day on Sundays and be like, "Fuck, I could
sour
be there."
and salty. Like that could have been me.
Missed my chance.
Come on, I could have done that.
yeah. So it's really it's tough, man. But
you mentioned visualizing it. Do you believe in like visualizations and thinking about what you actually want? You believe in all that?
Absolutely.
Manifesting your dreams?
Absolutely. Because I think if you don't, then how can you like? You're just aimlessly going through life.
Yeah. How do you know where you're going if you don't have a plan? Right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm a huge fan of vision boards.
Yeah.
Or at least having a pen and paper to write down. Okay, these are the goals, and I need to check them off.
Yeah.
There has to be forward progress, or it's just not on the list.
Yeah. And honestly, dude, even like I think that's great. I do lists all the time of like, because it's a little easier to keep like the structure of like momentum. But I honestly just think like even losing yourself in thought and like seeing yourself exactly where you want to be, like where else, like if you don't have a target, or if you don't have a target to aim at, like where the fuck are you aiming?
Yeah.
So sometimes, like, I remember a specific moment, and I'm sorry that I can, like, talk about football all the time.
No, it's fine.
But I remember a specific moment running on the treadmill at my buddy's gym in Limerick, Pennsylvania. A nice little facility, running on a treadmill, and no one else was there. It was dark, and I, like, imagined myself running out of, like, a tunnel with, like, 80,000 fans. Cool. And it, like, lit me up to the point where then I, like, went on. I had, like, one of the best workouts of my life. And all just because I was, like, imagining just losing myself, like, running in this monotonous state. And I, like, let my mind go a little bit. And I, like, was there. And then I swear, 5-6 years later, like, I actually did it.
You got to do it.
And I had to have that moment of, like, all right, like, I can see myself there in order for it to come
fire
true.
Back up a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, you had a uniquely myopic focus on football for your entire, not even your entire adult life. Shit, how old are you?
33, 34.
Okay, so
34.
I mean,
it's hard to keep track of.
Yeah. So now that, I guess this is where we kind of transition to now we're off the field. We've retired. We've got a bunch of knuckle dusters, beautiful things, tucked away somewhere safe, I assume.
Yeah.
And then we lead up into lockdown. You and I spend an amazing, well, not for business. It's amazing for the business.
Don't go down this kind of rabbit hole. We spent an amazing few weeks together.
We spent 6 months.
No, dude, it was just 2 weeks to flatten the curve.
Right, but then we took another 5.5 months off. And we used it to train.
Yeah.
So we got to work out and have, like, some rabbit hole conversations about everything, which was awesome.
Yeah.
And everything that kind of culminated from those conversations was you knew that now that you're off the field, you wanted to be an entrepreneur in one way, shape, or form, be it in gyms or in what we're doing now is Soulberry.
Yeah.
Actually, by the way, I drank all mine, but it was delicious. I want to talk about Soulberry, but I want to talk about why did you choose, out of all things that you've done, you're able to retire if you wanted to. Why do you choose now to jump into that realm of responsibility with running your own businesses?
Yeah, so retired in 2020. 2019 was my last season, and in 2020 I finally retired, like a couple weeks before COVID started. And that was like, the transition out of the game was like tough. There's no exact like way to navigate that. Like, it's so mental, and like there's so much things that you're trying to, like, weigh out in your head. I had known that it was coming because I got hurt in 2019, like 2 games into the season, and then we kind of uncovered some things once I saw some doctors that I had been, like, playing with unknowingly, and then I had to walk away from the game. And it honestly, dude, it really worked out because I don't think I could have, like, willingly done it. I think I would be one of those guys that couldn't walk. Yeah, and then it would have been like, I probably would have had to, like, try to go play other places, and I just think it all worked out, like, really pretty decently.
Purely out of love for the game at that point.
Like, I still would love to be playing, but I mean, the way it happened, like, being kind of, the decision was taken out of my hands, like, it all worked out pretty well. And then, so then we retired. I retired. We were living in Brigantine, and I knew that, like, I didn't want just football to be, like, the only thing I did. Right. And a lot of times that is one thing that guys struggle with, is like when they retire from the game that they've given everything to, they now, like, what's your identity outside of the game?
Yeah, you accomplish your dreams. How do you determine what your next goal is? How do you set a new goal when you've just accomplished your dream and you're financially set on top of that?
Yeah. And when you leave the game, they just slide somebody else into your spot. Yeah. So it's not like it's, you left us with a hole in the team. No, we filled the fucking hole. Yeah. We plugged that fast.
Yeah. And so, there's that sense of, like, I'm already almost, like, forgotten in the NFL. And there's this sense of, like, well, what am I going to do next? There's this sense of, like, well, if not football, like, what and who am I? Right. And then COVID happens, and you're just, like, you can't even, like, interact with people.
You're not allowed.
Yeah.
Like, who are you professionally? Because as a person, I know you as, you've got a football team in your own house.
Yeah.
And you're an awesome husband and an awesome dad.
And that is exactly, like, when I saw the doctors and they told me what was going on in my neck, I had my daughter there. She was, like, 1 maybe at the time, and that was, like, it was like an immediate, like, I took the news from the doctor, And then I like looked at her and I was like, I can't do it.
No brainer.
I can't do it to them.
Yeah.
And then it was like, well, now I know what my next, like, where my life is going to go. Because like now football is no longer like my everything in life. It's now like my family. And so then it was just like, well, as soon as football was done and I retired, then I'm like, all right, well, I want to be the best father and husband that I can. And how can I do that? How can I set the example, if not with football, to like show my kids how to work hard, show my wife that I love her by like trying to provide for my family and all this stuff. But be present with them. I don't want to be like working all the time. You know, and I shouldn't say that, but like,
well, no,
yeah, like I want to be a present father with them, but also setting an example for them. So I thought, well, the only way to have that type of control is to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And so then dude, I met
earned
you.
That realm.
Yeah. And
you're allowed to say, I don't want to work 12 days a week, 40 hours a day.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to, first of all. But it's also because of
it's hard to work 12 days a week.
I know. Well, you figure it out if you want to. But you've done everything up to that point so you can be in that spot. But I get it. You still want to be able to show the kids that just because we're here doesn't mean we stop.
Uh-huh.
You know, we may have made it in one facet, but you're 34.
Yeah. Yeah.
How bored? I know you. How bored would you fucking be?
Yeah.
If you just said, all right, cool, let's lay back on the beach. You wouldn't look good with my belly.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's when a lot of people turn to other vices. That's where a lot of people start filling drugs and alcohol and all those other things in there.
Yeah. And so, it was that my family, like, absolutely was my number one priority then. Yeah. And then everything else kind of, like, had to fit around it. And I was like, I need something that's going to allow me to be home with them and, like, and raise them up the way I want, but also like give them the amount of guidance and like example that I wanted to set. And so entrepreneurship became my thing. I started like kind of exploring some paths through the NFL. PA has a bunch of services to like try to help guys with the transition, and I was taking advantage of that. And then I just so happened to like meet up with this dude, and then we're in a lockdown gym, like you said, for 6 months, and we had nothing to talk about but life, kids. I mean,
well, you and I went to King of Prussia, like and like the not Cherry Hill, Manayunk and
Conshohocken. Yeah,
we were driving around looking for a gym to open in like February of 2020.
Nah, dude, it wasn't February, bro. It was like
beginning of March.
Like March. It was like March 14th, and then March 16th they shut the world
down.
Looking
at like 35,000+ square foot of space.
Yeah,
like things happen for a reason.
Yeah,
you know.
I remember calling the dude on like the 15th, trying to get a response from him or like more information, and then the 16th, like COVID shuts everything down, and it was like, oh my god, man, this is wild that this is happening right now. But then it allowed me to like. It allowed us to give us more time.
Yeah, and we had 6+ months of bouncing shit off each other, but you also getting to figure out with your family what you guys want to do for yourselves.
And so it was, I mean...
So why Soulberry? First of all, what is Soulberry?
So Soulberry's, right now we got 2 locations, but at the time it was 1 location, smoothie coffee shop on the beach. Really good idea. I did not come up with it. I just... bought the business, but it's really a well-run operation, and they did it out of a shipping container. It's got a really cool vibe.
It is cool.
It's like a surfer summer, like happy little space, and we got a great product. We got great employees that love working there, and I think it kind of like exudes that happy like summer feeling when you're there.
Oh, I'm a customer.
Brigantine,
every time we go.
Yeah, he's always there too. Him and his are you allowed to say it now?
What? Yeah.
Him and his fiance.
Yeah,
congrats.
Yeah, really engaged.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
But they'd send us photos of we're at the gym. Look what we got. And they're on the beach eating one of your bowls. So we got the Brigantine location. And by the way, buying somebody else's product, like as an idea, I didn't come up with the idea for gyms. They've been around forever. And sometimes it's just you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just supply a good product, which is 100% what you guys do.
Yeah.
And now you've opened up in the gym here in Northfield. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. The product's amazing. I'm going to drink his if he doesn't. But what, like... And I know why you liked it, because it's an awesome business, and you were a customer too before.
Yeah.
So now that you have it, now that you've taken the first location, had an amazing first year, we're just now launching this new location in Northfield. What else do you want to do with this, or is it going to be two and done? Is it going to be something you want to continue down the line?
Yeah, I mean, that's right now. Like, I'd be lying if I told you I have an exact plan. But that's the beauty of kind of being an entrepreneur, is you get to figure it out in real time, and there's really no set like precedent in like how you approach a business, and that's all something I'm coming to learn now. And I always thought like owning a business, it was like there was like some kind of secret that I just didn't know that all these like business owners all around the world have. And then I started to realize, once I was like taking these courses and talking to you, and it's like, you know what, like you really just got to like dive in and then figure it out.
Well, I think the secret for owning a business is, one, give a shit.
Yeah.
Don't do something that you don't care about, because it'll be reflective in the product, whether it's fitness or clothing or Soulberry or whatever it is. Give a shit, for one. Mm-hmm. Two, plan.
Yeah.
Like you went through all of the years of financials prior to the takeover, so you knew that there was money to be made.
Yeah.
You didn't buy a business that was floundering or failing. And three, demographics. They will tell you if there's money in the area to be made. Those are super simple things, but like you said, if you don't know where to start, you don't know where to start. It's a hard thing to kind of figure out.
But there's a lot of resources to help people like that have the itch, that have the desire and drive. And luckily I was able to kind of have one through the NFLPA, and it taught me a lot. It taught me a lot about like what to look for when I was looking through these finances, because sometimes you can get an Excel spreadsheet and you're like, what the fuck? What am I supposed to look at?
I always look at the bottom. If you give me a spreadsheet, I'm looking at the bottom row.
Yeah.
But if you give me like a financial package of what's done, I'll go through every page. But I don't even know how to. I'm not gonna lie, I can't make a spreadsheet. My wife does all that.
Yeah.
So I just look at the bottom line.
Yeah. So it's like a work in progress. And now, like with the second location, like, the end product is awesome, but there was also like a lot of decisions that I had to make like in a moment, and like things that I had to do that I didn't even know that I had to do, so I'm just like learning, man. Like when I started this, there was so much that I didn't even know that I didn't know.
Right.
And now it's like I'm starting to peel back the layers of the onion, and I'm starting to like really kind of like find the way I want to operate and the way I want to grow this. And I don't want to stop at just 2 locations. I want to keep doing it. And then once, if I'd like to keep it like family run as long as I can. Yeah. And then if there's like a demand and desire to keep growing, and we want to take like, a franchising approach, then we'll exercise that, or look through it at least at that moment. But like right now, I'm just trying to live kind of like day by day, week by week, month by month, and see how this thing goes, man.
I mean, that's how we live too, man.
Yeah.
Well, you were saying you went from DN to fullback, and at that point, you were kind of an imposter for a little bit. So it's the same thing with business.
Yeah.
You kind of walked into this business, now you're running a business, and you're like, oh, fuck, I'm an imposter.
Yeah.
They know something I don't. But it was the same thing with football. You just did it, and
as
we're
long
good
as you
at
care,
it. And keep going.
Yeah, as long as you give a shit and you care about what you're doing, you fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
As long as you care.
Yeah.
I 100% agree.
Yeah. And honestly, on that analogy, like when I retired, I was all in and thought 100% that I was going to be like a gym owner. Like, and I had this idea of like opening up like a fully encompassing like sports performance, but also like athletic rehab. And it's still a dream. It's still like that. That was like, when I retired, that was like, all right, I want to own a business. I want to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to do fitness, because it was like the closest thing to football that I had always kind of hung my hat on. But then I had to pivot, because it was like COVID happened, and like gyms are getting shut down all across the world. And I was like, all right, well, what is going on? And then just organically, I ended up meeting the owner of Soulberry, and he was looking to sell. And I was like, oh, well, this is a great little operation that I can cut my teeth in business.
You're a customer already.
Yeah.
You and your family were customers. You knew the product. You see the lines. You live in the town.
Yeah. So it was like,
if you didn't tell me you were going to buy it.
It ended up being perfect, man. And it's like food and beverage. Never thought I'd be in it. I was a dishwasher for like a couple months in high school. That's my only experience in it. But I'm starting to learn the whole like service industry and hospitality. There's so much so much to be learned about this business, and I'm here for it, man. Like I like that little pivot that I made, because it's like making me think outside of the box. You know, fitness was something I kind of grew up in, and I thought I had all the answers, and I know that now I don't. Yeah. And I'd be like, so it was like a humbling experience, and so, you know, everything works out for a reason, like Tony said, you know, and I, you know, now I'm a smoothie guy. So. Well,
so you had to do fitness because you were into it. Were you ever into the health side of it, eating healthy, organically, anything like that, or not?
Yeah, I was always into it. My wife is big time into, like, you know, trying to eliminate like processed foods, and you know, we're not vegan or vegetarian or anything like that, because, you know, we need the protein, but you know, it's we try to eat as healthy as we can, and obviously I had a lot of exposure to like the TB12 method and those ways, and, you know, so I definitely took learning lessons from all that stuff. I think you know, the healthier you can eat, the more natural and like organic things are, and like the less touched by humans. I think it's got to be better, right? That's the way it was meant to be.
Yeah, and it really makes you feel better. Right? Yeah. I mean, personally, I feel a lot better when I'm eating organic, healthy.
That's what they say. We haven't physiologically changed that much since the era of the caveman or hunter-gatherers. Yeah. Meats and berries. Yeah. Right? So
the one thing I was blown away at, this is a complete tangent, but it's kind of along this, is his orthodontistry is like a complete, it's a, you know, obviously a medical field now that doesn't need to exist. Because, like, I heard that the jaw, like the human jaw, is just shrinking because we use it less now. Like, we eat more like smoothies and like softer foods because of the invention of fire. We can now cook, and we don't eat like nuts and like these harder meats things, and like chewing on shit. And so, like, our palates have gotten smaller. Our teeth don't fit anymore, so they start, like, you know, getting all crooked, and then we need braces to fix it. And I had braces when I was 7. I had to get like an expander for the top jaw, so my dad would get in there and crank it a couple times every so often.
Yeah, it was. Did you have headgear at night too?
No, I didn't go that far.
My sisters had the headgear going.
Yeah, I didn't go that far. But I'll tell you, the one time the crank thing, like, it was like stuck. And my dad was like trying to get it to turn, and all the while I'm like sitting there.
This is when Jimmy tells us he has dentures.
And he's like trying to get it to go, and it just won't. Like, it was like kind of turning, but and then all of a sudden, whatever happened, like the thing like sprang, and it like went to like its full expansion, and it like separated my teeth from the inside of my gums. One of the most brutal things in the world.
Couldn't feel good either.
Yeah, I was crying.
Sounds like a torture device.
I was like 9 years old.
Where you crank a body and it stretches it.
And then I got my braces off, and they told me I needed to have them on again because they were still moving. I'm like, no, and I never did. But yeah, it's just, that's a complete tangent. But just like on that, I think.
I mean, it's we kind of are health and fitness kind of oriented.
Yeah, so the way humans were made, like, to eat and everything. Like, it's funny how we kind of change things. We think fire is the best because we can now cook our food and it's way healthier, but then it also like affects something else.
It's butterfly effect, right? Yeah. Every ripple changes the direction.
It's wild, man.
Positive and negative.
Well, it's like the grocery store you go in, and somebody was saying it's like a video game.
You're only supposed to shop
in the middle. Yeah, you have to shop the perimeter.
Yeah, the perimeter. That's right.
Maybe going for some oil.
It's the longest route. It's a road less traveled because everybody wants the quick and easy.
Yeah.
And think about it. What do you get? You get your dairy, your meats and fish, whatever, your veggies, and you're out.
Yeah.
I know, man.
You know, people, that's what they sit around thinking about all day. How can we make this so that we can sell more shit in the middle?
Yeah.
Well, they genetically make it so it tastes better. That's what McDonald's say.
Yeah, I know.
It's kind of.
So I got 2 more questions for you.
Sure, man.
My first question is, actually 3 more questions, I'm sorry. Last week we had on, Leo, one of our investors here for Wolf Fitness Northfield in Muskegon. He's also a full-time wealth management and retirement planner.
Yeah.
Because you've done what you've done, I just want, what is your takeaway from what you did career-wise for the NFL besides money? Like, did they teach you how to invest? Did you learn how to invest on your own? Like, what has set you up for success now that you're off the field?
Yeah, no, they definitely don't teach you what to do with the money. There's things that you can take advantage of, like the NFLPA. Like I said, they do a lot to try to help the guys along, whether like you're in the start of your career, the middle, the end, afterwards. They try to educate guys, and like they have several sources where you can learn about financial management and all that stuff. I chose the route early on, before I even made the team, that one of my friends from college was now working in New York as a financial manager. I said, like, yeah, I know how hard you work. We've spent a lot of time together.
So you trusted?
I trusted him. And so I said, you know what, I want you to like kind of help me along this like investment path. Yeah. You don't have to hold my hand and tell me what I can and cannot buy, because one, I'm conservative financially. Sure. Yep. Anyways. I'm not going to be like a dummy.
Want a Lambo for every day of the week?
Yeah, nah. Like I don't need all that. Like I just want like a used car, like something practical, and like a house that I love. Like that's all I need, man. And I love that like Spartan mentality where like you just don't need much. You just need a couple things, and you're happy. So we came to an agreement before I even really like made my bread in the NFL, and then still with him to this day. Still like call him like with questions and bigger decisions, but he knows my mentality. He knows that how hard I work for my money, so he knows that I want him to work as equally as hard to keep my money and to grow my money, and he's done a really good job. I mean, right now the markets are down, but I mean, dude, we killed it within like the 10 years of while I was playing and earning. Like we did a really, really good job, and so it was almost like kind of easy. And now being on this side, I've taken more time to truly like understand what he's doing. Yeah, I don't have like football like looming over my head. Like I have a little bit more time to focus on other things. So taking the time to really like educate myself, like what it goes into investing, like how do you try to read things, what are the best things to get into and to invest in at certain times of like society. Sure. And it's been really interesting. It's been awesome. And so do I feel like I could do it? Yeah, but there's also like there'd be a learning curve, just like.
But you still have a plan. Yeah, it's not like you're just like wandering through like spending money on whatever. Uh-huh. You have a plan. You're going to save. You're going to have this guy handle your investments. Yeah. But at least you're not just blowing it. You have a plan. Yeah. So it's the same thing. You just need to have a plan. That was his basic. That was the concept from Leo.
Yeah. Exactly.
Have a plan and stick to it. Uh huh. And if yours is conservative growth over the next 20 years or 30 years for as long as you fucking need it, then you stick to it.
And then an interesting thing I read. You may have recommended it to me. Oh man, what was the name of the book? Something about money. It's a bad look. But anyways, this book was about like money management and how to be smart with it and everything. And they did like this study over the last like 20 plus years of like the Dow and all that stuff. If you had just invested like systematically, like you put $100 in each month to like just like a
S&P index or like an overall index. Total. Exactly. I don't know if the book was A Simple Path to Wealth. I know that's a good one. We all kind of recommended to each other.
It was money.
Yeah, I know Science of Money or something like that. I think that's what it was.
Yeah. And
they just showed you they define what compounding interest is by just showing steady growth, ups and downs. You take the higher value between the two and average it out. But it shows that over the past 50 years, it's always grown. Yeah. Even and when it rebounds to all new time highs. Mm-hmm. I know that. I forget the name. I think it is that one though. Yeah, it's a good book.
There's like a $ on the front cover right now. I actually listened to it, but I was blown away at that because they essentially said like if you try to like sell high, buy low, all this stuff.
Yeah, you can't time the market.
Yeah, you almost just need to you need time in the market.
Set it and forget it.
Set it and forget it. That's why they said like 98% of like hedge funds don't beat the 500. Yeah, they just don't. They come close to leveling out to it, but they never surpass it. Yeah, just because it's steady growth.
And so on that note, like the money that I've made from the NFL, I like to try to I don't even look at it. I don't even, and everything that I'm, spending, buying now is all like what I've made after the NFL. And that's one thing. Like I played with Rob Gronkowski for 8 years. He had, super great contracts, but he always prided himself on all this marketing stuff that he does. And now he just signed a deal yesterday, I think, with NFL on Fox. He's going to be a broadcaster and all this. but like he was really smart with his money, and he only spent like the things that he made off the field.
Right.
So it was like, that was one thing, like as soon as I retired, I was like, you know what, this is a nest egg, but I'm not going to think about it for like 40 years.
When you
and
need
then I'll let it like compound and just like leave it in the,
Well, plus that creates the opportunity for you to give generational wealth to your kids.
Yeah.
Let them learn the lessons that you want to instill in them with being an entrepreneur or whatever path they forge. But you're also able to help them take those choices and make those steps along the way, which I think is important too.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons we started the BASU Lifestyle is because we wanted to give people better values. A lot of people now kind of have crappy values. They don't believe in anything. They're selfish. So part of this show and recording it is so people like our kids can look back at it and say, hey, this is the values my parents instilled in me.
Yeah.
What would you say if today was your last day and you had to give a couple of values to your kids, what would they be?
Oh, man.
Yeah, I know you could go on for hours.
Yeah,
but
yeah. I know, like, where do I even begin? But really, belief, one, the importance of imagination, and I touched on this before. I think you need to like be able to see yourself and believe in yourself in these like higher up dreamy type scenarios before you even like embark on the journey to get there. And so I think like having that amount of imagination and being able to like close your eyes and like visualize yourself where you want to be, that way you have like something to try to obtain. And then from there, then it just goes down to like work ethic and belief in yourself. If you have like the work ethic to just like, no matter what, you put your blinders on and you just like work at what you need to work at to progress your journey towards that vision. I think that's super important. And then
drive.
Yeah, and then the self-belief, because there's going to be times where people are naysaying you and not believing in you, but as long as you believe in it, then the world is really your oyster, man. Like it's so cliche, and like they tell you all the time as a kid, like you can be whatever you want to be. But that's fucking true.
Yeah, hard work beats talent every day of the week. So if you don't have it naturally and you fucking grind for it, you'll get there.
Yeah.
As long as you don't give up on yourself.
And I would say do not get discouraged if you go like you mentioned before, the path less taken. I think there's so much like pageantry, and like we beautify like these guys that get drafted like number 1 overall, or they get drafted in the first round. But you know what? You know how many players make it like undrafted each year? And then like these are the guys we should be lauding. These are the guys that like we were like, you know what? They got a fucking great story. Like let's look into these dudes a little bit more. So I think like sometimes those like unbeaten paths are like more interesting, and we should maybe like take a little bit more time to appreciate that than like these guys that are went to USC and are getting drafted. Nothing against them. But it's just I would say like don't be afraid of like thinking out of the box and being a little bit unorthodox in your approach to get to a dream, because no matter what it takes, just get there and then like reap the reward, man. Like whether it's spiritual, financial, emotional, like that reward is very, very sweet. So
it's like you almost want to unteach the word quit from your kids' vocabulary.
Yeah. Like
it's just a word that really shouldn't be taught at such a young age.
Yeah.
Because it just, once you know it, you know it. And if you don't know what quit is, you never stop.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Last question I have for you is we have, well, you're our 3rd episode, but we have asked every episode so far your BASU state of mind. So BASU standing for Building a Superior You. What is it that you're going to do for yourself today, tomorrow, the next day that's going to make your version of who you are right now a better version for the world?
Yeah. I mean, what am I going to do? I think right now, and I've told you this a bunch of times, I think I need to get like my fitness regimen back where I need it. This entrepreneurial stuff is like taking its toll. The kids, I mean, I'm waking up now at like 5 in the morning religiously. I just like can't even sleep in anymore, and I just need to like kind of like refocus my attention on something, because I love fitness, but like there's just other distractions in the world right now, or in my world right now, that that have taken me away from it, and I just need to like.
Well, it's a positive outlet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I need to like refocus myself. I love like that clarity of mind when I'm either lifting or running or whatever. Like when you just get to like be in the moment.
Yeah.
And that clarity is addicting, and that's what I always got when I was training. So I think I just need to like get back to that a little bit. And
Tony calls it the BASU state of mind.
Yeah,
that's what we're calling it. It's like your peak state.
That's very true, man.
It's your peak state.
I think like that like being in the moment and having nothing else going.
Yep.
That's what's addictive about really sports in general. Is when you're playing a sport, like you don't have time to think of anything else. Like when I'm playing football, like I can't be thinking of like, whoa, what am I going to eat tonight?
Yeah, what's for dinner?
Yeah, like what? I just need to be like in that moment, and that clarity is beautiful, and that's what like made me fall in love with the game.
Well, it's like when you see like in Star Wars where they hit the warp speed and all the lights just straight tunnel vision from where you are to where you're going.
Yeah, and that level of focus is a beautiful thing, man. I wish that everyone could like do that. I mean, obviously we all need our outlets, but that level of, like you said, just like tunnel vision is fucking beautiful. If we could all just take advantage of it.
Yeah, I really find that. Have you ever heard of 75 Hard?
Yes.
I somehow talk about it every episode.
This corner over here.
But I find that
for
like
seller, right?
just because you're like you have those things you have to do on top of obviously your job, your kids, everything else, but you just have to fucking stay on it. That's why you gave me that smoothie. I'm like, fuck, I want to drink this protein. But today's day 2. I'm like, I can't fuck up on day 2.
It's a protein.
But it's just a crazy level of focus you get because you have to do these things. Like we woke up this morning at 5, me and my girlfriend, to do our walk because we have a whole day of stuff.
Your fiance.
I call her girlfriend. She's just gonna be we're gonna be married. She's gonna be my girlfriend.
Yeah.
It's my girl. Whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really,
but you were talking to 2 married men, so we heard it.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh.
do you only call her wife? She's not your girl. Like
wife.
She's still your girl. You're still dating her. She's still your girlfriend.
Yeah, she could be anything at this point.
I'm too afraid of her to not call her wife.
Let's call her babe. Let's call her babe.
But no, I mean, routine. I think we're all creatures of habit. I think that's instilled to us by school starts at 7. You're there till 3, and then whatever happens afterwards is whatever happens. But you're, as a child, 7 to 3, you're in school.
Yeah.
So you're waking up at 5 to do your workout to prepare yourself for the rest of your day. That's your routine.
Yeah.
You and I locked ourselves in a gym for 6 months, and I watched you squat heavy weights while I sat on the machine because I don't do legs.
Yeah. That self-regulation is important. Yeah. And that was something like when I retired, like. Well, I was essentially told for 10 years where I needed to be, when, what I had to be doing, and now it was like, I got like the world is my oyster. I can do whatever the fuck I want, and like that.
It's an overwhelming feeling.
Yeah, it was super overwhelming. Yeah, and so I had to like reteach myself, like, all right, you have this, and this to do every day. Like you got to structure your day like this. And I mean, I'm still like trying to figure it out, man. I think we all probably hear.
Did you put on like a freshman 15? Like people go away.
No, I actually went the opposite.
You went the opposite way.
So I started running.
Jacked too at first before you started training for the marathon.
Yeah, I know. At first I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep training exactly like I did while I was playing. I was still doing speed stuff on the fields. Like, just couldn't give it up. And then I was like, you know what? I need to like change it up. I need to like do something else. So I started running, and then I was thinking like, one thing would be really cool is to run a marathon and do it up in Boston, the Boston Marathon. I had a couple like avenues that I could do it for a charity, so I ended up doing it for the Joanne Drewsy Foundation. Fucking incredible experience. Never thought that I could ever run 26.2 miles at once, but I got to the point where I could wake up and run 20 plus miles like at the drop of a hat.
And you were still lifting when you started training because you would run to the gym, train with me, and then you're like, okay, I'm going to run home. But I'm going to go the longest route fucking possible. I'm going to run to the beach.
20 miles long.
Let me just run the longest route I can imagine on this little island just so I can make sure I get my miles in after I lift.
Like the outline of the island, if you go all the way down the boulevard like and under the bridge, it's like 13 point something. So I'd have to run that, and then I would like serpentine all the numbered streets, and that's how I would get to like 20.
And then I'd show up to the gym at like, we say 5:30. I'd pull up at 5:35. Fuck you, it's COVID. And he's like shadow boxing under the stairs in the dark. Like he's already got his heart rate up to like 140. I'm
like, am I training with Rocky today?
I just stopped at Wawa. I got my coffee.
I guess I'm not eating this donut.
Like an hour and a half late.
It was, and so then I did the whole marathon thing, and then I was done that, and it was like, all right, well, I got to find like a new thing, and then it became
Yeah,
Soulberry. It timed up perfectly. Like, I ran the marathon on October 11th, and I bought Soulberry October 12th. And then from then on, it was like, all right, I got a new thing to focus on
and learn.
Yeah, and now, like, here I am still trying to do it, but I think I got to get back in, you know. And Soulberry and Brigantine's now closed, and it's been that way for like 2 weeks. I think it's about time I get.
You have the season off. You don't get up until
exactly.
May.
Just like football, man. Yeah. You know, I always took like a week off where I didn't like kind of just decompress a little bit and like engage with the family, and so it's dude, it's always just a work in progress, man. We're all just trying to be a better version of ourselves.
And do what?
Yeah.
Build a superior you, man.
Yeah.
Well, dude, thank you so much for coming on. Hopefully you'll come back on again. This was fun.
Yeah, no,
I see you all the time.
Yeah, I know.
Seriously, I appreciate it.
Buddy.
All right, thanks for watching the video.
Oh, yeah.
Like the video, subscribe to the channel. We got more shit coming at you.
You can follow Jimmy on Instagram at Soulberry, right?
Yeah.
SOULBERRI, and at
J Devlin.
J Devlin.
Don't post a lot, so don't.
Yeah, follow Soulberry.
Yeah.
It's kind of boring post.
Yeah, exactly.
Follow his wife. She puts up the kids and him all the time.
Yeah. That's right.
All right, guys. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time.
All right.
Now we just got to hope it actually recorded.
So this one I saw stopped,